Dallas Cowboys fans, this is what you've been looking for. A show discussing the team you love without all the fluff and BS. Host Greg Rector, along with Cowboys writers and content creators from across the country, break it down. This isn't the same old, same old. This is the blue and silver breakdown. How about them Cowboys?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Blue and Silver Breakdown. This is week 2 of the Cowboys preseason games coming up as they'll face the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are always very tough to beat, even in this preseason. As you guys all remember, their lovely record over the years has been very good. I really hope to see a whole lot more of the starters out there against this Ravens team. They need to send a message after what happened against the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, preseason game 1 is simply just a exercise in vanilla defense and all that fun sort of stuff. You've got guys who are searching for their gigs to become bench players and all that. But again, this Ravens team, last year they hung on to beat the Cowboys 28-25 in the regular season. They need a good beating. Now, do the Cowboys have what it takes to give them that beating? Well, we'll see come Saturday night. I've got a whole lot of people who have been talking about Joe Milton's experience Saturday night. You guys have to remember that he didn't have his offensive line in front of him. Yes, he overthrew the ball. Yes, he underthrew a couple of passes. But again, in the second half, when he was still out there, he was making some decent connections with the receivers. Again, he's not throwing to CeeDee Lamb or George Pickens either. So is he going to be ready to become Prescott's backup? No. I think he's going to be the QB3. You have obviously gotten a young man who has a very strong arm, but that strong arm needs to relax a little bit. He has to understand how to get the ball into a receiver's hands, where a receiver is going to be open and all that fun sort of stuff. Milton is basically have gun will travel at this point, and you have to get him to the point where he isn't just a gunslinger. And again, that's going to take time. You need to get him to understand how an NFL defense is going to operate against him. It's going to take some work. Again, don't go too hog wild against Joe Milton because of the struggles that he had in his first preseason game with the Cowboys. That's just game number 1. I do want to shout out a couple of very good performances. Israel Mukuamu was just excellent in his snaps that he took. I really don't understand why the Cowboys coaches do not have Mukuamu out there more often. I said this a couple of years ago when he was their best defensive player on the field against the Niners in that playoff loss. He was easily their best defender that day. And I think Israel Mukuamu deserves an opportunity to get more snaps here for the Cowboys, especially with the depth at cornerback that we're currently facing. Maris Leofau was also just an outstanding player. When he comes at the running backs downhill that he's capable of doing, he hits them. He hits them good. He's an enjoyable guy to watch. But again, this week, I want to see more starters out on the field. These guys, the Cooper Beebes, the Sam Williams, they need more snaps before the season begins. You can't just sit back and say, okay, well, you're the starter, so we're not going to get you out there. No, that's ridiculous stuff. We saw what happened last year with all that. No, these guys need to be out on the field. Does CeeDee Lamb need to begin? No, but I'd like to see George Pickens out in the field. just to show defenses, especially this Ravens defense, that, yeah, we've got a threat down that field. And if you don't cover them, well, you're going to pay the price. I really believe the Cowboys need to use their starters a lot more, because you have a team like the Ravens who are going to come to town, who are looking to beat you up again at home. No, this is the preseason. Yeah, I get that. I understand that you don't want to use a lot of defensive tricks and all that other jazz out there. That's fine and dandy, but just go out there and compete against these guys. That's what we want to see as fans of the Cowboys, is we want to see them competing. That's the key thing. And these guys like Cooper Beebe, yes, he played excellent football, especially in the second half of last season. But again, he was only a first-year center. I want him out there. I want him getting snaps to the quarterback. You used T.J. Bass as the center last week. That's great. T.J. Bass can come in after. But again, these guys, Sam Williams, he hasn't played in a year. He needs snaps. So again, once you get through this, you got through that first game against the Rams. There comes a time and a place for the starters to get out there, and I think this Saturday night is going to be an example of that. The key thing here is, of course, you don't want anybody to get hurt. We understand that. But again, these guys need more reps before the season begins so that they don't go down in game 1 and game 2. They need to have those snaps, especially on that offensive line. Now, something I heard earlier today was Tyler Guyton is already doing walkthroughs, and Coach Schottenheimer is pleased with the progress that he's showing. He basically said to Tyler, I want you to attack this the same way that you attacked your off season. And if Tyler Guyton is doing that, that's great. Because again, last year, I don't think he understood what being hurt versus an injury was last season. This year, I think he gets the concept of how to play in the NFL. So that's a positive sign. Again, the Cowboys, especially on that offensive line, need to have their starters out there as much as possible. Your defensive line, that's a little bit different because, of course, we don't have Micah. But again, I still want to see guys out there taking some snaps, getting the feel of being out there for a game. Make this game matter. Make this matter. Yes, it's only the preseason. It doesn't count in the standings and all that jazz, but you need to have a much better showing at home than you did last year. If Coach Schottenheimer is listening to me at all, please don't give the football away to start the game and do that deferment nonsense. Put your offense on the field. Attack the opposing defense and get some points on the board. I can't stomach this deferment. It boggles my mind. No, we're going to take that football and we're going to put the ball in the end zone, either through a field goal or through a touchdown, and you guys are going to have to play catch up. That's what I want to see the Cowboys being. Don't defer the snap. I just really, really don't like that call at all. And again, I'd love to know where you folks are watching us from. So you go ahead and comment to me here. Wherever you're watching us from would be fantastic to find out. The Cowboys, of course, last night had their Hollywood premiere of America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys. I don't need to watch any of that. First of all, I don't like the name America's Team. Everybody knows that. That was created up in Philadelphia in 1978 by a writer. And the Cowboys back then hated it because it put a target on them. So why does Jerry Jones do something like that? Allow Netflix to call them America's team, the gambler and his Cowboys. Well, we all know the story, Jerry, of how you put your money on the line and bought the Cowboys, et cetera, et cetera. I don't need to see any of that. I really don't. So Netflix, I'm sorry, but you don't have a customer for me next week. um, although my understanding is that it becomes very clear that Jimmy Johnson was the man responsible for those Super Bowls in the '90s. So if that one positive from the show, then that's fine and dandy by me. The entire Micah Parsons situation is simply boring at this point. Micah apparently walked out on the field today with his uniform in his hand. Somebody said something to him because Schottenheimer wants you in uniform on the field. Micah apparently just put his uniform over his shoulders. He didn't actually put it on. Whatever, that whole nonsense needs to just stop. If he's not able to practice, he needs to be getting rehab work then on his bad back. He doesn't need to be out there. If he's got this bad back, well, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that. Guess what? You're off the field. Plain and simple. There's no reason in my mind why we have to put up with this on a daily basis from the Cowboys. I don't care how big of a guy Micah Parsons thinks he is. I don't care how important the Cowboys think they are. If he's not practicing, he better be in rehab. Because if his back is bad, well, that's not a good thing either, right? The entirety of the Cowboys' efforts this week, though, should be focused on the Baltimore Ravens, because as I said before, this Ravens team is a tough team to beat. And I don't care how many of their starters are out there or not. The Ravens are always going to be a tough team to beat. They just come at you. We all know what Derrick Henry is. We all know who Lamar Jackson is. The Cowboys need to come out and have a solid home game in the preseason, though. They need to show the fans that, yes, the culture change that Schottenheimer's talking about, always competing, means something. So if Mr. Schottenheimer wants to increase his fandom, I hope he actually does what I said. Don't defer that kick. Don't defer that kick. You take the ball, you get your guys down that field, and you score points and make the other team come from behind. That's what you do when you're at home. You don't need to put the defense out there and see them get cut up again. And again, Mr. Eberflus, he might show a couple of things this week that he didn't show last week. Again, that means more starters being available, however. I have no idea how the Deron Bland situation is going to go. It's a tough call to make because the Cowboys want him to be an inside corner this year, while Deron Bland has shown that he's much better on the outside, including those 6 pickoff returns for TDs. That's going to be a tough call. But now Deron Bland apparently is looking at getting another contract. And, it's going to be a tough decision because you know what the Joneses are going to do to him. You just know that they're going to say, well, he's not this, he's not that, he's not worth this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine and dandy. But again, you just have to put that stuff out of your mind. You have to take the words of Stephen and Jerry Jones out of your mind. If you're the player, you let your agent hear it. You don't go in that room. You let your agent do that. Let your agent fight for you the way that he should, and that's how you deal with that. I don't care for the way that the Joneses do their contracts, of course, because they always attack the player and say he's not this, he's not that, da 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 da. And then this player sits out, goes longer, and they end up getting even more money. That's the crazy thing here. Hey Julio, good to see you here. Again, this Cowboys team sucked at home last year. Yes, Dak Prescott missed a whole bunch of games. Yes, we understand that. But again, when you have the number of victories that the Cowboys had previous to this, when Dak was healthy, including being unbeaten at home the year prior, that's what the fans want. That's what the fans want. They expect you to win at home. Now, I really doubt if Dak Prescott plays a snap. I highly doubt that. But again, come week 3, I want Dak to even be out there with Pickens, with CeeDee Lamb. Show them what this team is going to be capable of, even if it's just for a couple of series. You need to show not just me, but every fan out there that this is the Cowboys team. That was 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. Not the 7-10 thing that we saw last year. No, sir. What you need to do is prove to everybody that this Cowboys team is back in business, and that includes having or not having Micah Parsons. That's why I want Sam Williams out on that field. Donovan Izaraku also played very nicely last week as well. So you've got the bendy guy out there who can come and get your quarterback. Izaraku was second in college football last year in sacks. How he fell to 44 is beyond me, but he did. And again, that needs to he got some snaps last week. That's a good thing. He needs more snaps this week. He needs to face bigger boys than the Rams put out against him. And the Baltimore offensive line is not a tiny offensive line. So again, if the Cowboys actually show us fans that they have a plan to attack teams this year much differently than they did last year, of course, under Mike McCarthy, with every receiver running a curl or no, don't do that. You have to vary things up here. Matt Eberflus, again, does he need to go crazy with the whole whack of stunts and all that? No, he doesn't have to do all that. But again, I want these guys out there so that they've taken the hits. You have to be hit in football. And if you don't take those hits, what's going to happen to you week 1? You're in Philadelphia. If you're not ready for those Eagles, September the 4th, it could be an ugly, ugly night. And we don't want to see that if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. So again, I'm looking forward to seeing the Cowboys play Saturday night. It's going to be a tough task. But again, here's another team though, like the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, who have come close but not gotten there. But you don't see them under the same type of gun that the Cowboys are under, do you? Because again, they just aren't the Dallas Cowboys. They're not the team that America loves to hate, or the fan, or the fact that we love the Cowboys. But again, if the Cowboys come out and show us something in this game, show us that they're committed to having a different type of offense this year. Javonte Williams appears to be the number 1 running back. I would think Miles Sanders is the 2A, and 2B would be Jaden Blue. Again, I didn't put much light into what they used Deuce Vaughn for. because again, it's because of the injuries that they already had. I don't think Deuce Vaughn actually ends up being on this team. I really don't. Phil Maffa could be a much better backup than Deuce Vaughn has been. And again, Luke Schoonmaker needs to show us something in this game. I don't hear him. I don't hear about him. You don't hear anything about Luke Schoonmaker being a positive at practice. That's awful. That's awful tough to see. Because he was a second-round draft pick. But again, like many others in the past, when a coach tells a scout what player to take, that seldom works. It really does seldomly work. Mozzie Smith, the other first-round pick that year, again, we just don't know, do we? It's going to be a battle. I'd like to see Jay Toya show up a lot more than he did in game one, because boy, you need the guy that can take on a guard and a center and stop the inside run. That's what you need. That's why nose tackles are invented for. So if Toya can actually stand up and do something this week, it would be a very good sign. The Cowboys have definitely got to show us something though. So Saturday night, I'd like to see them actually show us some things on offense that are not the same thing that we saw under Mike McCarthy. Yes, Schottenheimer was the OC, but he wasn't calling the plays. Get Cavante Turpin a jet sweep. Get anybody out there doing things that are different from what other teams have seen before from the Cowboys. That's basically my bottom line for this week is the Cowboys need to show us something different. And I hope Saturday night that the Cowboys do come out and beat these Baltimore Ravens. It's going to be a battle. Every game in the NFL is a battle. And again, I want to see more from the Cowboys this year than we saw last preseason. I want to see more from them. And that is going to be the key. So again, if the Cowboys do show me some different things this year on offense, they can hopefully be a contender in the NFC East. But at this point, we're still too far away from knowing who's actually going to be on this team. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. We shall see what happens. But again, folks, if they come out and show us something different against the Baltimore Ravens, that would be a key to get the momentum going. You need momentum before the season starts. You can't just go out there and say, well, these guys aren't going to be playing for us and blah, 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 blah. Our starters are going to be just fine. Really? What happened last year? So again, I want to see these guys being used more. They have the ability to they have good players in these positions. They're not superstars. Not everybody needs to be a superstar, folks. As long as you're competent at your position. Nathan Thomas, nobody talked about Nathan. He was fine last week at left tackle. Cornelius, the right tackle, had an excellent week against the Rams. That's what you need to see from the regulars. So again, I really hope that the Cowboys do win Saturday night. next Monday we should have a better idea of who's going to be pushing for the last roster spots on the 53-man roster. And again, the blue and silver breakdown. We don't deal in BS on this show. I only talk about the players and the coaching staff. That's it. That's all. All right. That's all that matters to me is who is out there and what are the coaches doing with them. So again, we'll see what happens Saturday night, and I hope everybody takes care and enjoy your week. We'll see you next Tuesday on the Blue and Silver Breakdown. Take care.